You're live.
Oh, I'm live. Hello. I'm Caitlyn.
I'm Amanda Hooser. I write under AB Hooser. We are all with the Henlo Press, who is an
Yes.
independent publisher here in Huntington. Steve.
I'm Stephen Bias. I'm the author of Afterwards and 304 Monsters, and I've been with Henlo Press now since 2019.
He needs no introduction.
I don't need it. I don't need
He
any.
barely needs a mic.
I don't. I don't know why you stuck this thing on me. So what we're doing today is we're talking about the basis of writing, getting published, working with indie publishers, because a lot of people aren't going to be able to go and just straight up, get signed with somebody major. And this is the way we do things. And we're going to tell you the pitfalls and getting your stuff editing and how to deal with the
First, you have to finish the book.
finish.
Yes.
You have to write the book.
Well,
And a lot of people can't even get past that part.
One of the major problems that people have is, and I did too, and I got yelled at by my editors, is when you start on something and you have the idea, and a lot of people that are creative, they have this idea in their head and they pop it down and then they go, oh, well, and they go back and then they go back and they go over it, and they go over it and they go over it. And before you know, the person's sleeping with the sheriff, they've shot somebody, and it was just something about a cupboard. And that's how it supposedly starts. And the thing is, the number one piece of advice that I give anyone when you start, just go. Get your first draft done. Get it done.
It's going to be terrible.
It's going to be.
It's going to
You're
suck.
going to hate it.
There's just no way around it.
Yeah,
because you don't know what the story is until you've written it.
Exactly. And nobody slept with the sheriff and you're still mad about it. But the problem is nobody really sits down and they don't take the time to really, to understand that nothing is going to be perfect. Like the first draft of Afterwards that I did, I had so much romance in it. Okay. And I can't write romance at all.
I would pay money to read.
You met me.
Okay.
I'm my romance is wings, and so that's the thing. And so when they went back, my editors came back. And we'll get to that in a second. When we sit down and we did that, they were like, Steve, the romance, you have too much. There's so much, and everybody seems to love the main character, and there's no real. So I went back and I was like,
conflict.
Yeah. They're like, it's that they were right. And I pulled a lot of that out of it. And it made it such a stronger book. But in my head, when I wrote it, I was like, oh, Dad, what do they know? They don't know nothing. And that's not true. That's absolutely not true. You have to put your ego at the door.
100%. And the editing process is so important. You cannot neglect that. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the editing process takes longer than writing the book.
Oh, absolutely.
And writing the book can take a year sometimes,
Yeah, I can write the book in 2 or 3 months, get that first draft done.
Yes.
But then it's copying, pasting, moving this. Well, maybe this will be more dramatic if I move this here and get it all done. But you can't do any of that until you have written the first draft.
Exactly.
And then you can move it all around and smush it and do the things to make the pacing better. But you can't do that. And a lot of people get stuck in an editing loop where they will write the first 2 chapters and then they will go back and they will edit it. And that first chapter will be edited 150 times, but they've never written chapter 6.
Exactly.
It's like, write it. Don't worry about it. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be ugly. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Keep writing.
Yeah. And just acknowledging that you're going to grow as a writer. Like, I know the books I'm publishing right now are not going to be anywhere near what I'm going to be publishing when I'm in my 30s and 40s. Like, I'm just going to continue growing. And that's the beauty of it, I feel like. So you definitely have to put yourself out there if you're interested in it.
Well, again, because I am the eldest of all.
How old were you when you published Afterwards? Your actual age?
40. I was 48.
Yeah. And it's never too late to start.
Yeah, I was 48. Well, my history goes with a comic book. I had started a comic book. The artist wanted an 80-20 split. He was a real, and I told him it wasn't about money. It really wasn't about the money. Because again, and I think we talked about this when we did the HerdCon podcast.
Yes.
If you're involved in this, You do it because you're passionate about it. You're not in this to get rich.
Oh, that's the truth.
You're not in this to get rich.
I meet so many people who are like, "Oh, you published a book? How much money do you make off of it?"
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, but I'm
$1.50.
grateful for it.
And
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't make anything. I'm not saying that, but the point is you got to have a passion for this. You can't just get into this and think, and another thing.
You write because you have to, because you have 30 voices in your head
Exactly.
going, hey,
Exactly.
are you going to write for me today? Or
Writing keeps me sane.
You want someone to be there and tell you that it's going to, that helps you get it to the page. Because again, this all starts as a hobby. It's a hobby. It begins as a hobby. And then you're like, oh, I can do this. And then you meet some people that say, well, maybe you can do it, and then you end up doing it. And that's what happened with me. Once I did the comic book and it failed miserably. I mean, everybody was excited about it. They really were. Everybody was really excited about it. And then I backed out and everybody's like, well, you could have made money off this. And I said, no. So I sat down with one of the owners of the Henlo Press, and they said, well, write me something. And then they turned it into the other partner. And then the next thing I know, we was off and running. But the difference is, like with you, you turn in full works. With me, I turned in 50 pages and then another 50 pages and then another. So mine was literally constructed out of thin air.
There are only 3 people who are allowed to read my stuff while I'm writing it. And then the other people in the world cannot read it until I've edited like 8 times at least.
Yes. Oh, I feel that. And
Draft 8 will be given for someone else to judge. But
yes, and then when draft data is like out there, you're like, oh, maybe there needs to be a draft.
But I have
12.
removed my 267 instances of the word just.
Yes. Oh my
Mine's
God.
slightly.
Mine's
Slightly. Dude, if I could tell you how many times I got like little emails that said, take the word slightly out. Take it out. How many times are you going to use slightly? And it got to the point, because you both know me. I really enjoy messing with my editors anyway. So I will be like, they open the door slightly. Okay. It was not meant to be there.
The first book I wrote in 2013, Playing Dirty, I went through, and as I was making my 8th draft or so of it and reading it, I use the word pretty a lot. And it was like, they pretty much did this, and he pretty well did this, and it's pretty sure that it's this. And I'm like, oh my God. So I cleaned it all out so that just one character says, well, I thought it was pretty well done, or he is the only character that uses the word pretty all the time.
That's good.
And to make his tone different, but
yeah.
I had to really assess that about myself. How many times do I say the word pretty? I didn't realize that about myself, and I still do the word just. I cannot not write the word just and stuff.
Oh, yes.
So I need to clean that up. But I know this, so when I'm done, I search and it says you have 307.
I do that too. I'll be like, oh my God, it's all highlighted. You're looking up synonyms. And
One at
stuff.
a time. Get rid of that. One at a time. Get rid of it.
Yes.
It's part of the process, though. So
It really is.
You have to know that this is a thing that you do, and everybody does it, and you've got to go through and look at it all. So.
Yes, 100%. And I feel like because writing can be so difficult and getting published can be even more difficult, it's so amazing when you have people who support you. And that's why I'm so glad that I got published locally, because if I had won the lottery and gone traditionally published and made it onto a New York Times bestselling list, and I was like thrown into that, I'd be like, what? I don't know what to do.
I want to know what you and your mother's process was for writing The Can't Melt Away.
Oh,
because I am picturing you like a Charlie Day meme. Totally out with strings going from board to board here.
Yes. So if anybody didn't know, my mom and I published Deadly Choices, Will You Survive Can't Melt Away? It's an interactive slasher. So you get to see if you can survive a camp slasher. And I first came up with the idea. I was like, Mom, I really want to write like a choose your own adventure inspired horror book where you can like choose to do something. Because when you're watching a scary movie and you're like, don't go in there. Yes. Yes. I was like, well, what if people could do that instead, and I know there's like video games out there like that and stuff, and I think video games are awesome. I just don't personally play them. I am much more of a book nerd, so I kind of wanted like a book like that. So she loved the idea and she started coming up with a bunch of stuff. And then we came up with the idea of like how the character needs a mask. And so we finalized that. And then we sat down one summer because she's a teacher, so she has summers off too. We sat down one summer and we got out 3 poster boards, started writing all over the poster boards, and then we would draw circles and connect them and then write them out. And then we'd finalize it on another poster board. And then once we had it all finalized, we wrote it out and then we sent it to Chandler and Courtney. And they were like, oh, you should add this line. So we actually added 2 more pathways when we had editing with them. I'm so glad we did because it was from the perspective of the killer, which we didn't originally do, and I feel like it made the book so much stronger.
Fun.
It's fun. It was so much fun to write too.
I was like, this makes my brain go crazy.
Well, the
even
fact
thinking about
the
how
fact you
it
also
was.
got to work with your mother is that's different. I mean,
Yes.
it's a different thing.
That was so special to me.
I couldn't work with my mother.
Yeah, yeah.
My mother is a Fox News mother,
Yes.
so I couldn't work with my.
Luckily,
I couldn't
my-
work with my mother.
She's right here. Thank you.
Yeah,
She heard us talking about
Yeah,
it.
did.
I couldn't have worked with my mom because my mom would be like, yeah, "That needs change. That needs no. That needs change. No, that." Needs
My mom reads my book and then she apparently says to herself, oh, this sounds like something Mandy would say. Oh,
So,
there's a reason.
but the thing is, going back to the way you put things together, now, remember, I'm learning on the job. So with afterwards, I did the 50 here, 50 there, 50 here, 50 there. Okay.
Yeah.
But what happened after that is when I started on 304 Monsters, okay, I did my first draft and then I was really excited to get it done because I loved the story beats and the way I did it. Okay. Then some personal tragedy stuff hit and then I wasn't there.
Mhm.
And again, with a major publisher, I feel that they would have been like, well, let's just scrap this, shelf it.
You
Yeah.
would have probably lost your job. Like
Yeah,
you
I
would have
would've
lost your
scrapped it.
contract.
So what happened here is they came in underneath me and they helped me
Mhm.
finish it. And I it would have been out a lot early, which not trashing on the book. It's my voice, it's my story, it's my everything. But they helped me get it done. And that's the one thing about finding an indie publisher. However, I have friends that have also worked with other indie publishers that
Mhm.
make you pay to edit and their books never come out and stuff. There's a lot of horror stories.
Oh, I am in
Yes.
so many Facebook groups of writing groups, and they're like, "Well, they want me to pay $1,500 to publish my book," and it's like, "Run,
Yes.
run!"
Run.
Don't ever pay. That's a red flag. Now you can pay for marketing if
Yeah.
that's like your thing, but like for editing and stuff, that's a red flag.
Now I market.
I do too.
I market. I that's my thing. I'm so
I'm
different.
terrible.
Well, I'm so different than because like when I do West Virginia Book Festival and when I do things like that, which you guys know this. I was at one show and someone told me I was the most unprofessional writer they had ever met. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, but I want to be different. I want to be the guy out in the if you come up and you talk to me, and you guys have been with me when
Yeah.
I'm signing.
They will remember you.
They remember me.
Yes.
They remember me. And
That guy.
I can't tell you how many Facebook messages or especially nobody really follows me on Twitter, but I get Twitter messages all the time. And I'll get stuff from people from Lexington that have been to Lexington shows that have been like, oh my God, you were just, you just so much, you were just fun.
Mhm.
Because to me, this is fun.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to do. This is the fun part. And I tell people, like they're like, oh, I would feel weird someone reading my stuff or the rejection. Rejection.
Oh, once you reach your 50th rejection, you're like,
Rejection?
it's Not a big deal.
Dude, that's part of the fun.
I have over 400 retractions.
Nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's a
Nothing.
lot.
See, I never even tried. I never tried. I self-published my first 3 books. I edited them. They need. It was in 2013. I need to go back and re-edit them because I've grown in the last 10 years as a writer. But
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm just going to self-publish them because I don't care. I'm not out to make $1 million. I enjoyed this. These are really fun books. I want other people to enjoy them. And so I put them out into the world and I moved on to the next book. And I'd never took the time to even try to get traditionally published. And then when I saw him and doing Henlo I'm like, well, I really hate the editing. I hate the copy editing because I don't know where commas go at all. And I don't want to learn.
I pull them in.
And I'm like, you know what? Let me see if they would be willing to publish this book. So A Shade of Winter was published with Henlo. And it was the most least painless process of writing and publishing because I didn't have to do the formatting. When I formatted the books to paperbacks using smashed words, I had to take 1 book. 2 books went through fine. 1 book I had to take to text to get rid of all of the formatting because there was some error, but they wouldn't tell me where the error was in this 300-page book. And then I had to redo it all. And I was in tears. It took me 3 weeks to finally get this book approved to be paperback published. And I was crying.
Yeah.
Could not figure it out.
It's
I'm like,
stressful.
somebody else can do this. I write the book. I say, here you go. And then I move on to writing the next book. And then they deal with all of that stuff. And I'm like, this is fantastic.
And they're good at it too.
Exactly.
So the thing is, the thing that I love is now that I've done the 2 books and the books have been moderately successful. I mean, considered an indie publishing, well, at least I've been told.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've become friendly with them so I can be that, like, I know that something's not working, and they'll start in on me and I'll be like, oh, no. No.
You be contrary.
Yeah, no.
Picture it.
Because I want it to be an entertaining type of experience because I like I said, man, how many of these do I have left? How many do I have left? And that's what I want to have fun with this. I want to get it out there. I love talking to people. I love when someone tells me how much they like afterwards. I love that. I love that. I love hearing their
I was
ideas.
shocked at how much I enjoyed 304 Monsters. I was like, Steve wrote this?
Well,
Really?
there's someone that's here that actually accused me of having a ghostwriter for after. Yeah, they actually accused me of having a ghostwriter, and
I was there when they
because
used
well,
you.
it's not. It's just I want to go outside my wheelhouse. Like my next book is sci-fi erotic fiction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, heavy on the erotica.
Yeah, heavy, really heavy,
Really?
like
God.
insanely heavy, to the point I have fans
So
pointing.
you're gonna write to market then and become like the erotic bestseller. 'Cause
Yeah,
if you want to sell books, erotica is where it's at.
Exactly.
Steve Tingle, So no, but the thing is,
Stop.
I know. Sorry, but no,
That's too much.
the thing is, I'm trying to really put myself in a position to where, and here's another thing, I'm very proud of the work that we do here.
As you should be.
Like,
Yes.
for example, Shade of Winter. Okay. When they told me what it was, and I'm just going to be 100% honest on this stage.
When are you not?
I said, that is going to not work. And I'm going to have to do one of those things where I go,
Oh,
did you like it? And you do one of these.
yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't
as I got
understand.
halfway through it, my wife comes in and my daughter comes in because they always, especially when I'm doing anything like reading or writing, they instantly interrupt me.
Oh.
Is it good? Is it good? Is it good? And I'm like, you know what? It is. It's really good.
Because I'm funny.
And they went, okay. So then my wife read it. And my wife was like, it is really good. And then my daughter read it, my daughter hasn't even read 3 or 4.
Really?
Oh, my daughter's.
She likes
You're
you
going
better.
to have to ground her again.
She sucks when it comes to stuff like like, my daughter personifies the jock mentality because my daughter's been in martial arts since she was 5. She has the jock mentality. I'm like, hey, you want to read this? Yeah. No. They could barely get me to read at school. And I'm like, okay. But, we had to ground her to get her to read afterwards. She was actually grounded when she read afterwards. So she had done something awful and she had to read afterwards. So, but the thing is I'm so proud of what you did. And then I got to Mumblings, and I remember getting Mumblings, which I knew I was going to like Mumblings. Just the idea behind Mumblings was enough. But when you did Camp Meltaway, I was like, my wife and daughter actually read it first.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
I didn't, because I got my copy, and I'm like,
and it was instantly stolen.
Yeah, I was like, where's my book? And I went in Lily's room, and she was reading. She goes, I died, and I went, I know. So I did it, and then when I explained to my wife that you'd done it with, your mother, and your mother's this award-winning teacher and stuff like that. She goes, that would have been so much fun. And but when I go back, when someone comes up to me and I'm like, which I did get, okay, I have gotten one piece of hate mail and one thing.
Only one?
Only one. Only one.
Wow.
Normally everything's glowingly positive, but the big one was one person wrote me and said, afterwards is so woke. What happened to you?
Oh, wow.
What happened to you?
Is that hate mail, though?
It is.
They can sell it at book tenders, the most woke bookstore.
Yeah, it is. It is. When he wrote me, and he's known me for 36 years. Okay, and he wrote me and said, "This is woke." I knew at that point that I had.
You've made it.
I had. Well, the thing was, I know you laugh, but here's the thing. I said I wanted to do something that's so out of my wheelhouse that people that I've known for decades went, what is this? That was to me the moment that I smacked it. And I get all age groups. I've had 62-year-old women that work at Drug Emporium that have walked up. I just want you to do a sequel. And I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. They go, what is 3 or 4? Is it the second one? No, that's terrible. But I've enjoyed doing this, and it's proud of my work. I'm proud of the people I work with too. Yeah. So, I got accused of this. We did the podcast for HerdCon, and when we got done, someone had said, "You made us sound like a cult."
All the best.
We are.
Well, no. The thing is,
we are a family.
It's a family. It really is a family, and not some.
It's much more fun to publish with a publisher, and then we have this group of authors who all enjoy the same things, and we enjoy talking about the writing. As opposed to just self-publishing by yourself and cursing alone in your house, because it's so much better when you go, oh my God, did you do this thing? Read this. Tell me what's wrong with this.
Yeah.
You have people. You have backup.
Yeah, and we all get along.
Yeah.
Well,
for the most part.
For the most part, we all get along.
We're a family.
There was 1 or 2 instances of
who shall not be named.
Yeah. We've banished the name. But the thing is, we've always gotten along to the point that we contact each other outside of work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've all become friends.
Yeah. Yesterday, I hung out with. She was supposed to be here for 30 minutes yesterday.
Stayed
and
for like
hung
4
out
hours.
with me for 4 hours. I come and sit at your booth and talk to you for hours because we all get along, and that's something that we have. We call our editors. We can talk to them about anything.
Although I will give you credit, your marketing scheme of telling every random stranger who asks about my book and he says, "Oh, I hate her. She's my arch nemesis. However, the book is really good." And it works.
It works.
People buy the book. And I'm like, just keep doing that.
I think I sell my books very well, but I also believe that because we all get along and we're all friendly, I sell your books just as much
as hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I want everybody to succeed. That's the thing. And I know you gave me this glowing compliment the last time we were in the podcast. She was like, "Steve,
I'm not going to give you a glowing compliment."
If you did, I'm having you checked. But the thing is, I do want everybody to succeed. I want as many people to work with us as they can.
Yes.
Because I always loved to read, you know, and I always loved books, and I hate to say this, I don't care about Kindles and stuff like it's a dying art form. You know, young kids today.
How do you plot? Do you do it on paper? Do you do it just stream of consciousness on the word vomit directly into the document?
I write the ending and then connect the dot.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is it?
That you start with the ending? I don't think I could do
I
that.
write the ending first. The ending's always the first thing I do.
I just wondered what your process was.
My process is a really and it's truthful. I can't shut off. Okay, I have insomnia. You know, everybody knows I've got MS. You know, I can't shut off. I can't shut down. Okay, and I'll be sitting at night, and I try to go for walks, especially when it's cold, because that makes me feel. But I'll be walking. I'll go, and I'll run home, and I'll.
Yes.
And that's.
I have an app on my phone to take all the notes.
That's
because I know I will not remember them, but then I was like, oh, what I should have done.
But I know your writing process. You are the analytic. You know.
I've got my beats, but I've got my index cards, and I've got plot A, plot B, plot C, D, because I'm writing mysteries, and I've got all of these different things that need to interweave. And so then I take the index cards, and then I put them in the order that they actually need to be to make the story.
And you crochet.
Then
I crochet. No, ideas will just come to me randomly, and I'll write them down on a piece of paper, because I always have a piece of paper with me since I'm a student.
Yeah.
And I'll rip it off, and I have it taped up in front of my desk. And then at the end of the school year, I put them all in the notebooks that are designated for those books. So
you write in notebooks?
I do. I prefer.
I have notebooks, but we don't write in them.
Yeah, I prefer to write notebooks if I can. Sometimes if there's a deadline, I can't.
You talk to yourself for dialogue?
Yes. Oh, and do you know what I do? If a character moves, like if I say they flick their wrist, I'll like move my wrist and like try to see if there's a different way I can describe it and all that stuff. So I get really into it sometimes.
Acting out the
I'll
whole
be
thing.
in the office, and which I'm extremely dialogue heavy. I love dialogue. You know, I should be doing screenplays, but yeah, I love dialogue, and I'll be talking to myself, and I can't tell you how many times Lily or Rachel will open the door. Who are you talking to? I'm writing.
Yes.
I don't talk to myself for the initial
especially
writing
if someone's arguing.
If
someone's arguing, because I do raise my voice and go back and forth, because I want it to feel
genuine.
I want it to feel genuine, and
But I do read the entire thing out loud when I'm done with it, and then I can tell, you know, the cadence isn't right, or the dialogue is stilted. You know, I read it after I've written it. Like draft 3, I'm reading the entire thing out loud to myself. And everybody in my family is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you like, shut up and let me live. It's a process, and I need to finish it. So scoot, you know.
That's something I need to start doing.
the sequence near the end of 3 or 4, and I won't spoil anything, where Jennifer and Veronica are talking, and Veronica's very heated. The window was open, and Rachel came in and goes, she goes, hey, can you keep it down, because the neighbors are staring.
The neighbors are staring. Okay, your final line of 304 Monsters, like I cackled out.
You told me that, you wrote
I
me and
was
said I
like,
cackled
I had
out
to
loud.
message you, like I'm dying.
She's like, I'm dying.
This is the best ending of any.
Well, it's so much fun to and plus, here's another thing, and I know, again, I'm a 50-year-old guy. Yeah, I'm an old man.
Yes, you are.
And a lot of the stuff that I write, I try to write from a female perspective.
I know, and I think that's so interesting.
It's again, it's me going out of my wheelhouse. It's me being awash in feminism. Yeah, no, listen.
But you wrote my favorite character
I
of
know.
all time, which is a
She
grandma.
went through the first draft.
Yeah, I read the OG.
She was on the OG team.
Grandma Ethel.
Yeah, and people listen. Again, it's so much fun to do this and to create, and I get it, you know. And when someone says, you know, it's hard to get this done, I now have so much respect for people that have written books or editors or
You really do a
filmmakers.
good job, though, of making each side character have their own individual voice. Like you
Yeah.
inhabit the body of this
Well, that's
character.
because there's so many.
Yes, exactly. You've got to be a little crazy because I read a lot of unfinished work doing critiques, and some people just can't get that. Like it is a cardboard cutout character that has some lines that is in response to the main character, but they never have any agency. You don't ever feel like they're a real character. And that is not everybody can do that, but you both do a really good job at that, at
Thank you.
giving
You
them
do
voice.
too.
And it's just something that you've got to be able to do to make it an interesting book. Otherwise, they're just little
I think it's
stick
my
figures.
I think it's my history with comic books that did
Mm.
that. I really do. I think it's my history with comic books because there's so many things that they have to stuff in 30 pages,
Yeah.
you know, and give different voices. And I think that actually helped me along the way. But the thing is, man, once I'm not done. I've already started on my third and fourth book. I know you're working on something.
You
I
can
know
get done with your third book before I get done with mine.
You guys are in.
I'm not racing you. No, no.
I will beat you.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not doing any challenges or anything with you. Do you know what this? Oh, good. So anyway, so she'll be like, hey, what'd you do this week? I'll be like, oh, I got like 4,000 words done. I did 56,000 words. I'm like, I mute.
I can't guarantee. I
Mute.
can't guarantee that they're good words, but I wrote the words,
No,
and then we can
she-
choose them.
Because when she
That's
lays down, when
good.
she lays down to go, she goes.
Yeah.
Those-
And the thing is I'm so distracted by the things that, because like I said, Lily's got to go to karate or some tournament, and Rachel comes in and wants
Mine are
to-
grown. So I'm not.
Yeah, yours are gone. You just have college
Oh,
problems.
I got so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
21-year-old.
Yeah, just the 21-year-old.
I do. It does. Some days I only have like 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there. So I do carry a notebook. I write on my laptop. I write when I can.
10 minutes is not enough for me to get the ADHD trotting around,
Oh, you
prepping my
get-
stuff, fluffing stuff
She
to get
can't
that
even
done.
warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not even warm yet.
Yeah, I gotta get all the ADHD stuff out of the way, and then I use a timer, do the Pomodoro method timer, where I set it for 20 minutes, and I do nothing but write, and then I'm like looking out of the corner of my eye, I can see it counting down, and I am like shaking by the time the 20 minutes is over, and then I've got 10 minutes, and I gotta get up and run around and go
And
get
get
my
all the
drink and do all my
energy
stuff, check my Facebook, and do all the things, and then 10 minutes is up, and then we go in for another 20 minutes. But that's the only way that I can get it done, because otherwise I'm like, oh, I should check TikTok, which you should never ever check TikTok if you want it to be a black hole of not getting anything done. But
Yes.
like I
Mhm.
have to use the timer, and I have to do it that way, or it's just nothing's going to get done. So.
Definitely. I have to like when I'm not focusing, I do 20 minutes too, and I'll take a break and then 20 minutes
Yeah.
later. Stuff. It's really good. I recommend
So
it.
the last time we did the podcast, that was the last time we were all together,
Mhm.
and so we did the podcast, and I remember going back and I've watched it twice, and I remember the one thing that we didn't talk about on there, and I was surprised no one asked, but I blame that on the host. So
I'll kick him for you.
who influenced you?
To
What is the
write?
the biggest influence you had? Who was the influence that made you say, this is what I want?
This is gonna be so cheesy, but it's expected. My mom.
Okay, just do.
Well, she would write books about us when we were kids, like when we were
Aw.
little. Like I loved the color pink when I was like 5, so she wrote a children's book about me being like a pink princess and stuff, and I remember that. And then my sibling loved pickles, and it was like a pickle princess and like stuff like that. And so I wanted to start writing to be like my mom.
Is she
And then
just
we
the
published a
sweetest
book
thing?
together.
She's just like the sweetest thing.
One of these things is not like the other.
I've got, yeah, I've got cavities now. You, come on, it's your turn.
I always read. And I assigned myself book assignments. Like I had, what were they called? The children's books things, and you could read about other places, and then I would do a book report on it
Oh.
myself for fun. But I read constantly, and so like Dean Koontz was one of my big. And then I read a whole bunch of of romance novels, but I only like the romance novels where there's a mystery to solve. Sherlock Holmes, all of those were I need to write a mystery. I love mystery. And then I started, I'll tell you what made me want to write a book though. I got free Kindle books. I had a newsletter that would come to me and they would send me, these are all the books that are free on Kindle. And I was reading them and I'm like, these are terrible.
I could do
These are
better.
awful. I want my money back for free. How do I get my time back? I could do better than this. And it was the early 2010, 2011 when Kindles were really coming out. And I'm like, I could do this. So I did.
Yeah.
And I did. I mean, they did really well for what it was. But I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
I could write a book better than these are terrible. So
Yes, 100%. I had that experience in high school where I read a book and I was like, this was popular.
Yeah.
I could do better than this.
awful. Yeah. And then once you do it, once you write that first book and you're like, yeah, I can do this.
It's such a rush.
And then the other 30 voices that you didn't know were in your head are like, hey, I've got an idea. And
Yes.
like people who I see on TikTok and I see on Instagram, they're like, I don't have any ideas for what to write. And I'm like, how?
Yes, how?
How? Because
Uh-huh.
I've got like 60 going right now.
Yes.
I got 4 books half plotted in my head already. How do you not have
Yes.
any ideas? I don't get that.
I know. I'm the same way. And I know for me, every time I hit 10,000 more words in my manuscript, it's like a rush. And I
Yeah.
just want to keep on going.
That's why I have the word counter at the bottom.
Yeah, me
I have the
too.
word counter at the
Mhm.
bottom.
Yes.
Mine actually, and this goes back to mom. And no, I don't have mommy issues, but I
Good
would.
to know.
I used to mow all the time to make money, and or I'd do little odd jobs, something stupid, clean around the house and stuff. And I would buy comic books after comic book after comic book. And my mom came in when I was like 10 and almost 11 years old, and she goes, "These are poison. These are awful. I want you to read a real book, a real book." And I was like, "No." So she takes me to Walton's Books at the mall, and I'm walking down I'm walking down.
That's how long ago.
And I see Jaws by Peter Benchley. And
Aw.
I'm like, people getting eaten.
It's got a shark.
I've seen the movie. I've seen the movie. I'll
Then you find
So
out it's a
take it
whole
off.
different book.
Now, for those that have not read Jaws, okay, the film is a completely separate entity. It is
There
not,
was a shark in it.
yeah,
That's-
that's it. People were named the same. There is no good character. There's so much sex, violence, and just nastiness in that book. And it was like my dirty little secret.
Yeah,
from
you
my
certainly
mom.
weren't going to tell your mother.
No, I
Yeah,
wasn't gonna
these
be
comic
like-
books that
I
you
was
thought
gonna-
were bad.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, hey, wait do you see what Hooper and Cheap Rudy's wife does? But I was like, I read it, and I really remember that by the time I got to the final 50 pages of that book, I was rooting for the shark. I was like, I don't like Chief Brody. I don't like Hooper. I don't like Quint. I don't like Chief. I hope he gets up on land somehow and eats Chief Brody's wife.
Yeah.
I hope he eats his kids. I hope I hope that shark somehow devours the entire town.
Yes.
And I was and I read it, and then I went back and I got a James Bond book, which was nothing like the films again.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that while I love cinema, it's just, you always hear, people always say, the book is
story.
better, the book is better. That is the truest statement that's ever been said. And from that point on, it influenced me, to look at, and I buy novelizations of films I see. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've got a book that's on my shelf, like I think it's Halloween 2, okay, from the Halloween 2 film. It's worth like
Is it like this big?
it's
Like, what's the plot? Like, is there a plot?
Well, there's all this additional stuff in it, and the book's like really expensive, and it's actually really good. And I'm like,
Really?
yeah, and so I buy novelizations all the time. I love reading, and reading is just it's such a kick,
Yes.
and I can walk away from a film, I can walk away from a film and be like, yeah. But if I got a good book,
Oh, it
Dude,
could
you
change
Think
your
about
life.
it way longer than the
dude,
film. Like,
yeah.
months,
When I
you're still
set it
thinking
down,
about it.
I'm like, oh man, there's been books that I've read that I walk away from that I'm just like, especially some that have the noir type ending,
Yes.
you know, or something that disturb me to a point that I can't.
Those are
that I
the
can't function,
best.
that I can't function.
My
Right.
favorite
Yes.
movie is Atonement,
Oh yeah.
which makes me
Oh yeah.
bawl,
Yeah.
bawl, cry. And I have the book and I haven't read it because I have to be emotionally ready because I know what will happen and I'm going to cry just thinking about it. And I'm like,
Yes.
I can't read this book because I know it's going to tear me up way more than this movie ever did. So I have it and one day I will read it, but you
There'll
know.
be there will be no
I'm going to make
ice
you watch
cream.
this movie.
There'll be no ice cream left at Kroger.
No,
once you-
I'll be like
Uh,
bawling and no Kleenex left. I'll be.
yeah, dude. But that's why I tell people, I'm just like, one of the number one thing when someone passes by our booth, you like to read? Do you write?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite?
Yeah.
Because
Let me recommend our wares.
yeah,
Yes.
touch them. What is it? Touch them. Just don't put them in your mouth. Yeah. I love.
Brigitte has wares.
But dude, but I do. And I go back through your work and I go back through your work and now I have not, and I know this is a shame to me admit up here. I read Shade of Winter. I have not went back to your other stuff yet.
Oh, there's way more cussing in that.
Oh, well, I know.
I use the F word like a comma.
I've heard that you use the F word like a comma.
Yeah.
So
We did too and can't melt away. So.
well, I know. I was like,
trying to write a book where there was no cussing to make it YA, but then I have like 10-year-olds reading it. So I'm like, okay, I feel good about the clean language in it, even though it was against everything in me.
Did you guys notice in afterwards? One of the things I did is Femi is the only one that drops F-bombs.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Femi's the only one that drops F-bombs. And
So tell the audience who Theme is.
no.
No?
They're gonna have to read the book.
Okay.
You ain't getting nothing for free. I worked hard on this.
You want
He
your
let me
money.
believe that 304 Monsters was a 304 different short stories about monsters
I did that.
until I bought the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is not what this is.
I thought it was gonna be something like that too when you first pitched the idea. I was like, oh,
He totally let me
pleasantly
believe that. And I'm
surprised.
like, wait a minute.
That's what I do. I want you to go walk in and be like, whoa. Because the number one thing said to me, and I said it on the podcast, and I say it to everybody. The number one thing said to me when I finished afterwards, everybody said, even my wife said it to me. My wife has known me for 25 years. Goes, this is not what I expected from you. Now, when they finished
Wow.
304,
Mhm.
they're like, this is exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
But that's the truth is I wanted to be way out there and go into like my next work is completely like
Wait, are we not getting a 304 Monsters book?
okay,
too? 'Cause
I'm
I
just
need
gonna tell
more.
everybody because why not? I'm just gonna announce it up here because I know one of my editors in the audience and it really makes her so happy when I start talking about stuff that we haven't signed contracts or anything on. They love that when I start talking about it. Okay, hey, here's something I do that makes them so happy. I'm wearing a shirt that says "We Are All Nothing," and on the back of it, it says 304 Monsters. Before I even told them the title of the book or that I was working on a second book, I had this shirt made.
What?
Just
What?
because I love to make them upset. Okay, because I now realize that they look at me as like their teenage child. They're like,
Oh God.
God. When we got announced for the and this is the true story. This is so you guys are gonna love this. When we got announced for the podcast, and you have to understand, I know that this is being live streamed. If you've ever met me in person, I'm being very subdued.
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very subdued right now.
The ADHD is strong with
One
us.
of my favorite things when we got announced for the podcast, my editors called me on the phone and they're like, okay, now let everybody else talk. Okay.
They neglected to
Behave.
say, don't make it sound like a cult, though. Because
Behave.
we've done really well, though, this time.
Behave. Don't do anything like that. Be nice. And I'm like, okay. And I made one subtle dig at somebody in it that was really hidden,
Uh-huh.
But outside of that, I try to do, I wanted this to be, I'm trying to be professional.
Oh, me too.
But going back
It
to what I
goes
was talking
against
about,
everything in you. But
I'm actually working on a 3rd and 4th book. Now, I am working on a sequel to Afterwards. You know, it's something that I've wanted
so
to
you're
do.
doing both at the same time?
Well, the other one is something completely out of left field. Yeah.
So you're writing 3 books at the same time?
Well, I haven't started on the sequel to 3 or 4. Once I finish the sequel to Afterwards, I will be doing something with 3 or 4. I also want to do some short stories, like you said, because people love the idea of the 304 monsters. They love the idea of it, and the state of West Virginia, and how we've set everything
All of
together.
our cryptids there.
Yeah, well, I went. The only one I used was Mothman. Everybody was like, "Are you going to use like the Grafton monster?"
No. And Mothman's a woman.
Huh?
And yours.
You getting near the end? Okay. I'm being told that I talk too much.
I tell you that all the time. You don't ever listen to me.
Well, here's the thing. Before we go, Can't Melt Away by Tiffany and Caitlyn Pace. It is absolutely fun. It is absolutely excellent. For you that are watching the live stream, for you that watch this later, you should buy that book. It is like the old 80s. We'll call it Choose Your Fate, but it is
Flasher fic.
It's fantastic. It's fun. They're here at HerdCon today. They'll be signing books. Shade of Winter, young adult, no sexual overtones, no romance, no bad language. Anybody can read it. It's fun for all ages. She did such a fantastic job, and she is my rival, and I'm supposed to hate it, but I don't. 304 Monsters and Afterwards. 304 Monsters is Henlo Press's newest book. It is doing extremely well. I've had nothing but positive feedback about it, but I'm not going to tell you anything about it because, again, I worked hard on it. You figure it out on your own.
And Josh is upstairs right now at the table.
Yeah, Josh.
signing,
Josh is
Charlie and Kana.
Charlie and Kana. There are some really good stuff. West by God's fantastic. But
yes,
I ain't plugging that. He didn't come.
He has his own podcast.
Yeah, he's got his own podcast. He's got like followers. Do your own thing.
But it is excellent. So I saw somebody posting about West by God, and they're like, "Well, I don't know. It makes West Virginians sound racist." And I'm like, "Well, there are pockets of West Virginia where racism and homophobia is a thing. The character is not." And she goes in, and there are other people who are not, who are fighting against that. So yeah, it exists. It's a thing. You will find that in small towns, but that's not what it's about. So.
Exactly.
Nora's up there too. Northern Arwal. I love Northern Arwal.
That's so cute.
My little niece comes up and she goes, "Did you write this?" I'm like, "No."
Why?
It's way more interesting than what you're writing, Uncle Steve.
But we've had a good time up here. We love talking. We love talking about books. We love talking to people.
We love Michelle.
Yes.
And they wanted me to do this in 2022. I got COVID. 2023, I was in Lexington. I should have came here. Yeah, I should have done this one because I really enjoy this.
I was here.
I was filling stickers all years.
All right, so we're gonna cut it. All right, we'll cut it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.